Hello, adventurers. We are here tonight to talk about zombies. From the swamp zombie of Erendor, which is our campaign world, to the world of Barovia, and even we're going to dip into some Cobalt Press zombies and zombies you can find on D&D Beyond. We're going to take a minute to talk about how they each have different features and how sometimes there's not enough information. You might want to expand that and use your brains as a dungeon master to make them more interesting and sneaky to challenge your players. Today, I'm joined by my fellow Dark Alchemist, the Dead Professor Scott.
Hey, everybody.
And, of course, DM Evanson, our personal dungeon master.
Good to be here.
All right, so let's jump right into zombie talk. I would like to talk about the swamp zombie. So in the world of Erendor, we started a campaign where our group are monster hunters, and they were just exploring the world, and these players had not played since first edition. So we're jumping into fifth edition. They're learning the rules, and I had a scene set up where they were going to fight something else, but they ended up wandering into the swamp, and they came across one of the creatures I created, the swamp zombie, based on the basic zombies, except they had some little different abilities. And they had a big fight, and the fight went really well, and it was exciting for everybody. Swamp zombies are a little more slippery, a little more stealthy. So let's talk about the basic zombie rules first, and let's see if we can pull those up and talk about zombies from the D&D Beyond. So the basic zombies all have an undead fortitude, and this is kind of a universal rule for them. If you hit a zombie and you're going to do a killing blow to it, it might actually stand back up. So it's a DC 5 plus the amount of damage. Now, I was having a conversation with DM Evanson. Would you ever be able to do enough damage just to completely take out a zombie? So, Dave, you're saying that a 20 would always succeed for the zombie, then, right?
Yeah, if it's a fortitude save, as long as they can make it, yeah. You could go drop it down to 1 HP and go from there, or
that would be house rollable, right? Because not everybody does 20s automatically pass savings throws.
So let's read the undead fortitude trait. This is on all zombies.
Yeah.
So undead fortitude, if the damage reduces the zombie to 0 hit points, it makes a Constitution saving throw, which is DC 5 plus the damage taken. So DC 5 is really nothing, but you're going to add that damage to it. So 10 points of damage plus 5. Now you're at DC 15. Unless the damage is from radiant or a critical hit, on a successful save, the zombie drops to 1 hit point instead. So putting the critical hit or the radiant aside, it's a DC. It's 5 plus 20 points damage. The DC is 25. The zombie can't make that save. What do you think, Dave? What would be the house rule on that?
I mean, I believe everything in combat with a nat 20 is an autosave. Everything outside of combat is not.
Okay.
So
all right.
I think, a DC 30 lockpick, just because you try with your +1 doesn't mean you're going to get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's meant for a master locks picker. So that's where you got to you separate it a little bit, where combat, where it really matters. I mean, that's maybe the difference between depth and not. So
yeah.
Always let people
something
but that's
here, having not read this carefully before, is the zombie doesn't drop. It doesn't go down and have to stand up. It goes to 1 hit point instead of going down.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't go prone. It doesn't have to stand back up.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's an important distinction for combat purposes.
Okay. Yeah.
Early on,
so it does say the zombie drops to 1 hit point, but does not actually drop.
Yeah.
Right.
It's nice.
We have Doom Driver joining us. He said that's a fair assessment of what DM Dave says. Zombies are unthinking, reanimate corpses, awfully gruesome, marred by decay and lethal traumas.
Yeah. It's good to give a little extra to the because they're fairly squishy for the most part, and you got to put a little fear god into these early players,
Now, the base zombies have about 15 hit points average. That's a 2d8 plus 6. Armor class 8, easy to hit, not a lot of hit points, but again, you kind of put them in a horde.
Yeah.
Now, what I thought kind of freaked me out was it understands common plus 1 other language, but it can't speak. So most zombies understand 1 or 2 languages. And I was like, well, they only have intelligence of 3. Who are they talking to, or what are you trying to say? But the professor brought up a good point. Can you go over that point about the animate?
Sure. When you cast Animate Dead, you have to give the zombie commands. So if the zombie was a kobold or a goblin who did not speak common, and you only speak common and elvish, you can't actually command your zombie based on the rules as written.
Or ask it questions if you did speak with dead. Yeah.
Speak,
well,
so
what about raise dead? What about the speak with dead spell?
Only works on a corpse, so once it's a zombie, it wouldn't work on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the same thing would almost apply though with the language, right?
Yes, I think you have to share a language on Speak with Dead.
So these zombies here are animated servants for evil magic users. In rare cases, foul magic might result in a widespread reanimation of the dead, unleashing hordes of zombies to terrify the living.
Just a campaign note there, Bird. Please read that phrase again.
I was about to
say. I have my warning unsupervised wizard cup available here.
Evil magic users.
Bertrand has a scroll of Animate Dead, which he's saving. You never know. I mean, only for the greater good would we use it, but you never know.
Just pointing out, it even says it in the monster manual.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Although these monsters are neutral evil, but in our modern society and our modern storytelling with The Walking Dead and with The Last of Us, we have basically a disease. We have an unknown alien infection, maybe. We have cordyceps and mushroom monsters. But, in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, it's really a magical malady or magical raising. Although I like the idea, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. We're going to show you one of the zombies. I think it's the mold zombie out of the Kobold Press book, which I was really impressed by because I'm on a zombie kick now, where a disease can actually spread.
Yeah, I do Plague Zombie, the one I pulled up from the monster manual, from Van Richten's also.
Yeah. Okay, so let's remove that from the stage, and we're going to show a quick picture of my swamp zombie.
I like that.
The swamp zombies come from the swamps, and part of it is the roots and the branches and stuff kind of grow into it and become part of the zombie going through it, and it almost creates like a ghillie suit. It creates like a and we're still working on the creation of swamp zombie. I have the basic stats, but it kind of gives it, I would think, a good stealth bonus. And the swamp zombies have a swim speed of 20. So I'm going to add to the stage here my
version
kind
1.
of zombie version 1. Swamp zombie, we have an armor class of 8, rotting hide, 30 hit points. We have a swim speed of 20, move speed of 20. 15 strength, 16 con. Everything else is super low. Intelligence of 3. Vulnerability to fire. Immune to poison and exhaustion. Has dark vision. I don't know if all the zombies have dark vision, but I guess they have to have some sort of.
I believe they all do. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we gave the swamp zombie Swamp Stride. Ignores difficult terrain caused by muck, mud, and shallow water. Right. Can move through it, which is actually pretty good. It has putrid resilience, which is the wording here is a little bit different, but we're going to have to change that to undead fortitude to keep in line with all the Dungeons and Dragons and D&D creatures.
I think you should change it to undead fortitude, but instead of radiant damage being the thing that auto hurts them, make it fire because that's what they're vulnerable to.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to take a note on that, and it gives our zombies a little bit different point of view, a little different version, and it keeps the players on their toes. When we had one of the characters attack a zombie, they said they're going to infuse their monk punches with necrotic damage, and he didn't know. He failed his roll to arcane check and his history check to know if they would be affected by it, but they were affected by it, and the necrotic damage actually blasted apart the roots and was enough to kill him. But the zombie did make an undead fortitude roll because it wasn't the vulnerability, but it did manage to put him down. He did fail his roll. We have Stench of Decay, which is kind of like their poison attack. If you start within 5 feet of a swamp zombie, it's a DC 11 con check. It will be poisoned until the start of next turn. If you pass it, you're immune for 24 hours. I'm not sure if I want to make that a chlor attack or keep it to Stench. I know some other zombies have Stench. The big one,
thing coming up out of a swamp. I like Stench. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you could do, if you wanted to more flavor after its first takes damage, then the stench happens or something.
Yeah,
on the first hit.
Loaded and
so maybe it's
full
not
of
as
gas.
brutal that you get that as soon as you get in, but a surprise.
Okay,
that's an idea.
So if you're listening, you're helping create with us. So if you want to make a comment upon what you think the swamp zombie would have, let me know, and it might affect our play style and the creation of the zombie. The last one, which I was really proud of and I was really excited by, was the swamp body. It's all slimy and mucky and muddy. So creatures have disadvantage on checks to escape the zombie's grapple, and on checks to grapple the zombie to its slime-coated, decomposing body.
Love it.
So, and it has a swim speed.
So I would add to that after it grapples, it immediately tries to submerge.
Gotcha. Now I'd have to check the submerge rules with DM Evanson. We played a campaign where an alligator grabbed somebody and was able to start to submerge, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Do you know off the top of your head the submerge rules, or you made us do a Constitution check to see how long you can hold your breath, right?
Yeah, I did that because you weren't. It wasn't exactly a plan.
Right, it was by surprise, so it was whether you got a breath of air or not changed how long.
Yeah, I think basically the rules are you hold breath for up to your Constitution modifier in minutes, so plus 3 minutes. But if you fail your save, I put it as that will be how many turns instead.
I like that.
But that's a house rule. But it's just otherwise 3 minutes. That's a long time underwater. And there's really no rules for like spending a lot of energy means like less time. There's nothing like that, which is reality. The more you move, the more oxygen you lose. So otherwise, you could jump down there, fight a shark for a whole minute. Take a minute, swim somewhere else, do another whole around the comment, and still swim to the top without even worrying.
So it's called suffocations. No. Suffocation, rather. You can hold your breath for a number of minutes equal to 1 plus its Constitution modifier, minimum of 30 seconds. Yeah. So you have a negative con modifier, it would be 30 seconds before suffocation begins. And then it's 1 level of exhaustion on each turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense if you're like, all right, we got to go swim down there. We got a plan to get into a place, and you're all mentally into it. But like walking by,
but I think making that when you're surprised, I think making that a save in order to get that gulp of air, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, makes it something a little extra,
On the suffocation too, as per the rules, the current rules, it does say that a creature that can breathe again, it removes all levels of exhaustion it gains from suffocating. So if you're under there for 3 rounds, you got 3 levels of suffocation, 3 levels of exhaustion. It's not like you come up and now you're going to be messed up for the long rest.
Yeah,
but it makes it harder every round to escape the grapple.
Yeah. Because in the new rules, it's -2 every round, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're
disadvantage,
if you go by the rules and you're under the water for over, let's just say everyone has at least a +2, so you get a +3 minutes, and you're getting points of exhaustion. You've made a lot of bad decisions. But
in a fight, it's very reasonable.
Yeah.
So I have in front of me here, I have the Creature Codex 5th edition, Pocket Edition from Cobalt Press. This is an older book, and I'll put the actual cover up on the stage here. It has a nice picture of like a lich with some sort of skeletal dog you might have found in Ghostbusters and some other ghosts and creatures. So this is the Pocket Edition of the Creature Codex. And just in my journey looking for more zombies, which I'm excited to try to print and paint and add to the campaign because they're low level and I think it's a good monster to fight, we came across the mold zombie. So the mold zombie has a higher strength of 17, con 16, still has the intelligence of 3, a higher armor class of 13, and an average of 75 hit points, which I honestly think seems a little bit too high for a zombie in general. I know the CRs are supposed to go up, but do you think a zombie should ever be a CR3, or will you just put one of these in, one zombie with some regular zombies?
The zombie plague spreader from Strahd is CR4, 78 hit points.
Yeah, I mean, as it scales up, I mean, most parties are at least 4 people. and they could easily do anywhere between 10 to 15 damage easily on a good turn.
See,
so
this
yeah,
is a
I mean,
great. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
no, it's a good thing to throw at them as a little test. I don't know. It depends on how many you're throwing at them.
Right.
Also,
To me, this is a great encounter to use a minion type thing. So you have 1 or 2 of these, and then you have 10 or 15 minion zombies, which are 1 hit point.
Yeah.
Same stats otherwise, but 1 hit point.
Yeah, and it's just it's taking away the action availability.
As much as I was not a fan of D&D 4th edition, that was a great mechanic that they had in 4th edition, which was minions. So you could have 50 goblins on the field or 50 orcs on the field, but only 5 of them were actually statted orcs. The rest were minions. So your fighter could be hacking through them at 3 a round, feeling super heroic, and then he hit the leader, and then he had a fight. And he still got, a bunch of minions fighting him. But, a wizard could wave his hand and, 10 of them died. It was just a super thematic, heroic.
You feel good chopping down the little guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And but the good thing when they connect with you, they still hit hard.
Yeah, that's true. The 75 is not too bad when your speed's 20.
And they're easy to hit. They're armor class 13.
You could run away, worst case scenario, do a bunch of range attacks.
At 4th level, your average player's probably got a 5, at least between a 5 and 7 attack bonus, right?
Okay.
I mean, he's hitting on a 6 or a 7. They're going to hit 75% of the time.
Yeah, 100%. You could definitely throw those among a few.
So let me just read the description for the mold zombie. And again, so this was created for 5th edition, probably before the 2024 came out. Again by Cold Opens. But I think it's very easily adaptable. You can change a few little things if you need to. So, black pustules cover the shambling corpse. The zombie lets out a baleful moan, breathing clouds of black spores. Mold zombies are undead, created by necromantic spores. They serve no masters and have no desires other than spreading their infection.
No, that's
spore infection. It sounds terrible, and the picture looks horrible. It's very scary. Mold zombies are created when humanoids inhale the spores of the Imuda flounder, a red vine, black pearl swamp plant that smells like rotting flesh. And that's what I like about this. It's a swamp creature.
Yeah.
Once inhaled.
Last of Us.
Yes. Yeah. Somebody played The Last of Us. I'm not sure the year this came out, but this is probably true.
Yeah.
Once inhaled, the host contracts the pox. The spores quickly shut down internal organs while growing into muscles and brain. When the host dies, the spores reanimate the corpse into a mold zombie. Spread the spores. Mold zombies are controlled by their spores, which seek to infect more humanoids. When a zombie seeks a potential host, it fights to the death, hoping to kill infected creatures so it can immediately rise as the undead. Mold zombies attract other mold zombies and move in large groups. Mold zombies do not require food, air, drink, or sleep. So we went over the stats. We have immunity to necrotic and poison.
Love that.
No weaknesses. No vulnerabilities. It has the death spore and undead fortitude. So the undead fortitude is the same. They took the same rules from the basic D&D, and they just plugged it in here for the zombie.
Yeah.
Spore death. When the zombie reduces 0 hit points and doesn't survive its undead fortitude, it explodes in a cloud of spores. Each creature within 5 feet of the zombie will see a DC 13 Constitution saving throw, or take 9. That's 2d8 necrotic damage, and contracts the Pneumona pox virus.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So
I didn't see that part.
So let me ask you, Dave, right there, and we're going to read it what the pox does, and it's bad. It's bad. Do you think
sounds bad?
Do you think that it's fair to have an auto non-saving throw on a disease?
That's brutal.
1,000%.
Yeah, that's brutal. If it's built around the whole story and like you're meant to cure it and maybe getting it is a way to.
Well, you have a save
on a clock or something like that. Maybe there's like a whole campaign around it, but there is a save.
So it's DC 13 save, or take the damage and get the pox.
And get the pox. I guess it depends on how bad the pox is. I gotta read the
pox. You get a number of DC 13 saves to get.
Oh, so I read it wrong. So you do get that immediate save. I thought the save was just the damage. and there's no comma. So and you get the pox. So if you get the save, you're good. No damage and no pox.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. So I read that wrong.
But the pox, so to me, this is a great plotline zombie. You can have a whole village infected by the pox.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people are turning every day while the characters try and figure out what's going on and cure them. I mean, your cleric's got cure disease, but he can only do so many.
Yeah, maybe you could do medicine checks to
you
help.
could have characters making medicine checks or herbalism checks to try and find an herb to give people a benefit to their save.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be very thematic of like that. Oh crap! This village is going to die, and we're going to have 30 of these things marching to the next village.
And that's a lot of hit points to be marching to the village. So
and it's only 5 feet, so you could contain it, or plan the kills out a little better. Or once the village, you go, okay, if this guy's gonna die, let's give him room, and So, but it would be a fun little scenario, like you said.
Yeah.
So they make 2 attacks, a multi-attack, 2 attacks, and slam. And I feel like all zombies have slam. It seems to be just kind of like the weapon.
Yeah.
So you attack +5 to hit, 5 foot reach, 1 target, average damage 6. That's 1d6 plus 3 bludgeoning, +7. That's 2d8 necrotic damage. They do have a plague breath on a recharge of 6.
Yeah, that's interesting.
15-foot cloud. So I guess it's a triangle.
That's how you infect a village.
15-foot cone.
That part is brutal too.
Each creature must succeed DC 13 con check, just as the other one, or take 10. That's 3d6 necrotic, and get the pox.
The pox
that's a pretty wide cone. You walk into a tavern and this thing just vomits on the patrons and your average humans.
Right? How many hit points does a commoner have now? I really don't know. That's what I'm asking.
That's a great question.
I'm gonna look.
As the professor does some research on a commoner, let's talk about the pox. It takes 1d4 days for the pox symptoms to appear in an infected humanoid. A creature with the pox has trouble breathing, and its skin erupts in painful green boils and oozes pus. As the disease progresses, these pustules turn black. Ugh, sounds nasty. At the
4
end,
HP.
4 HP.
What's that?
4 HP.
Has 4 hit points. So you walk into a tavern with this thing, and it's killing them all.
Yeah.
Now the question is, if it dies from this effect, reduce its maximum hit point to 0. When the infected creature dies, its corpse rises in D4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So DC 13 save or take more damage. Maximum hit points are reduced by the amount of damage taken. That's when you actually have the pox. So even a high level character can't heal.
It can't heal.
If the target dies, and then in 1d4 hours it comes back. You can cure the pox with 2 successful saving throws. So you need 2, not even 1. You need two in a row. Otherwise, you're back at it. You're up and I feel better. I don't feel good. I feel better. I don't feel good. So, especially the way some of our characters roll.
Yeah, I can see this spreading real fast.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's I think it could be a great storyline.
Yeah. Now, again, I wouldn't throw a lot of these at a party because of how crazy it could get, especially if you're in a village.
Think about this in a city.
Yeah, devastating.
Right. Think about this in a city.
In a remote swamp, sure. But yeah, absolutely. You could do a lot of fun.
You literally have Walking Dead or World War Z if you put one of these in a city.
Absolutely. But I think, like I said, like DM Evanson says, we put it in a small village in the swamp where there's a couple people and maybe, the character's going to run away and it's not going to get out of control, especially at their level. They're at level 3, maybe going to level 4.
I'm the jerk because I think this would be a fantastic city encounter. Like, you might kill half the city, but like having like higher level, 10 or 11th level characters trying to stop this from just destroying a city.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like what the Mongols used to do with the horse,
throwing the bodies,
the dead horses and bodies and small testeds. They launch it over the walls, catapults, and
Dave's talking some real history.
It's like, you put this in an airship and drop it over a city.
Yeah, so I'm excited about the mold zombie. We have to find some prints for these so I can do them up, and we're gonna add them as part of a swamp adventure. Hopefully our players are not listening to this. Well, hopefully they are because I want the views.
Hopefully they roll high.
Hopefully they realize what we get into, and That's the best way to support us is Adventures Wanted. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We are very close to 400, trying to move forward. You can find a DM Evanson on Instagram at DM_Evanson. That's EVENSEN. You can find me on Instagram and the Dead Professor at Dark Alchemy Limited. Moving on.
Never know who's going to answer.
You never know who's going to answer. Yeah, well, sometimes we get in each other's way, right, to answer. So let's go to DM Evanson. You have up here a Strahd zombie, and we were in the world of Barovia, where the vampire lord was sending zombies at us. And Dave, why don't you go take us through the Strahd zombie?
Yeah, the only thing that's unique about this, which adds a little extra flair, is it has this trait right here where you could lob off some of its limbs. So whenever a zombie takes at least 5 bludgeoning or slashing damage at one time, roll a d20. 1 through 8, a leg is severed from the zombie. 9 through 16, one of the arms is severed. And 17 through 20, it's just its head's taken off. It's decapitated. Now those limbs can still act. That's what's unique. So the leg is has like the severed leg. It'll reduce the zombie speed, but you could have the head still move and attack. It still has unique things you could do. It still has the fortitude where it's brought down and makes some normal saves, but it's just something a little extra you could throw at your players that they're not going to expect. Like, oh, you just lopped off his arm, and then now you have an arm chasing you or something. So it's interesting to do. Yeah, there's not many different versions on D&D's zombie list of zombies, so finding third party or other sources is always nice.
It's funny because I suspect, Dave, that after this came out, they came out with the swarm of zombie limbs.
Yeah.
Do you, Professor? Do you have that available?
Yeah.
Yep, have it up.
All right. So let's talk. Let's remove. Oh, one last thing on this Strahd zombies. Strahd zombies are undead that serve the vampire Strahd von Zarkovich, created from the long dead guards of the Castle Ravenloft. They were called into being through the dark magic of Strahd himself. So, I guess there's a limited number of them, but it was actually from his guards. Man, I tell you, they probably thought they had a good job, getting some overtime, get some good food, living in a castle, living a life, and next thing you know, you're a zombie.
It's a good life.
Professor, you want to take us through the swarm of zombie limbs?
So a swarm of zombie limbs. So among the undead, a lone zombie ranks far from the most menacing. The horror of the shambling dead lies not in their individual menace, though, but their numbers, their persistence, and their disregard for their own well-being. A throng of zombies will douse a forest fire with their own ashes or march into a dragon's maw until the monster chokes. In the course of their relentless marches, zombies might suffer all manner of trauma, potentially reducing them to a mass of crawling limbs, or infecting them with terrible diseases, or crushing an entire horde into a single rotting titan.
Oh, I think we have some foreshadowing there. So we'll talk about that in a minute. There's some other creatures, but so the limbs just kind of pop up. So wow, that's amazing.
So zombie limbs is a medium swarm of tiny undead. AC 10, 22 hit points, 5d8, speed 30, climb 30.
Wow.
Stats are pretty baseline: 14 strength, 10 dex, 10 con, 3 intelligence, 8 wisdom, 5 charisma.
He's great.
Damage resistance, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Immune to poison. Immune to charm, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained, and stunned. No grappling them, no stunning them. Blind sight 30. Don't bother going invisible. CR 1.
Well, let me stop you right there. A blind sight 30, blind beyond this radius. So if I'm at 35 feet away or 40 feet away, I can just walk by and okay, as long as they're not coming my direction, they're not going to notice me, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So it's a swarm, so it can occupy another creature's space, and another creature can occupy its space. It can move through any opening large enough for a tiny limb. It can't regain hit points or temporary hit points. Doesn't need air, food, drink, or sleep. Has multi-attack. Has 1 undead mass attack and 1 grasping limb attacks. So the undead mass is a +4 to hit, Reach is 0. You have to be in its space. On a hit, it's 5 points of damage, d6 plus 2 bludgeoning, or 4d4 plus 2 bludgeoning if the swarm has half of its hit points or fewer. So as it gets damaged, its damage goes down. And then you have grasping limb attack, which is again +4, 0 reach. You have to be in its space. 2d6 necrotic damage, and the creature must succeed on a DC 12 strength save or be restrained by all the hands clawing all over you.
Wow.
The creature can repeat its savings throw at the end of each of its turn, taking 7 2d6 necrotic damage on a failed save. Creature is freed if it succeeds on that save, or the swarm moves out of its space, or the swarm dies.
Yeah.
So all those limbs that get lopped off, they kind of get together.
Yep.
I mean, as a caster, I don't want to be restrained. You know, I don't want to be held down by, and you know, I have 40 hit points as a wizard. You know, 7 rounds or up to 12. That's no good. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm very scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CR1.
CR1. Dave, how many of these would you throw at somebody? Would you do one swarm? Would you do 2 or 3 swarms?
Hundreds.
Depends
on the group. Yeah, I'd throw a few. I'd probably maybe even like do it like you said. I would do it maybe right away. You let them kill a bunch, lap a bunch of zombies in half, and then they turn around and now there's a swarm.
Yeah.
Surprise them, a little later. Interesting. Or maybe they open a room and they find a bunch of body chopped up, and you're like, "Oh, this is a terrible thing."
Yeah, you just see a bunch of body parts laying in a room.
Yeah, thinking like,
"Oh,
they would
move."
Yeah, and then they leave the door open, and then next thing you know.
I like that idea as a dungeon master. Maybe we could. This is just my idea. I don't know if it's good. A little dungeon master tip. So if you had like 10 to 15 regular zombies, and you had if the fighter came out or a warrior came out with an axe or somebody just slashing a lot, I killed the zombie, and he's feeling really good about himself, really feeling good about slashing and chopping up the zombies that are there.
Yeah.
Feeling very heroic. Every third zombie that he kills, I'd be like, boom, there's a swarm of tiny undead. And it's all the hands and body parts, and all of a sudden you're like, "Whoa, wait a second, that might be that might be fun." There's no real rule for it. It doesn't say when you kill 3 or 4 zombies it happens, but it might be something fun to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe throw a couple descriptions in there.
I just envision hands crawling and carrying heads and just all sorts of creepy stuff.
Oh yeah, get a lot of fun with that. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So this leads us into 1 or 2 other creatures related to this when they storm together. The professor's going to take a minute to check the archives and our tomes of Erendor in the Arcane Conclave and pull up the next creature, which is I don't like this. I just don't like the word clot. Like the word, like I know what a clot is, but when you say zombie clot, that incantation just has it makes me feel a little bit weird.
Yeah. So this is the crushing of an entire horde into a single rotting titan.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a CR6 zombie, huge undead, armor class 12, 11d12 plus 33 hit points, averaging 104, 40-foot move, so your average character is not running away from it.
Okay.
20 strength, 10 dex, 16 con, 3 intelligence, 8 wisdom, 10 charisma. Immune to poison, immune to charmed, exhaustion, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, and stunned. Dark vision 60. First trait, deathly stench.
Mm-hmm.
Any creature that starts its turn within 10 feet must make a DC 14 con save or take 2d8 poison damage and be poisoned until the start of the creature's next turn. So that's disadvantage on basically everything in combat.
Yeah.
It has the typical undead fortitude rule, and it has typical undead nature. Zombie doesn't need air, food, drink, or sleep.
Okay.
It has multi-attack for 2 slam attacks, which are +8 to hit, 10-foot reach, 3d8 plus 5 bludgeoning. So pretty big hits, averaging 18 points.
Yeah, that's two 18-point slams. That's well, it's a large creature. It's a bunch of zombies together. That's a pretty heavy hit.
3 of those takes out a 5th level mage, 5th level caster.
Yeah.
Right. And then it has a flesh entomb, which recharges on a 5 or a 6. The zombie flings a detached clump of corpses at a creature it can see within 30 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 16 strength savings throw or take 3d10 bludgeoning damage. And if the target is large or smaller, it becomes entombed in dead flesh.
Oh my God.
The creature entombed in the dead flesh is restrained, has total cover against attacks and other effects outside the dead flesh, and takes 3d6 necrotic damage at the start of each of its turns. The creature can be freed if the dead flesh is destroyed. The dead flesh is a large object with AC 10 and 25 hit points, immune to poison and psychic. So your friends have got to start hacking on the flesh entombing you, or you're getting dissolved inside.
Wow.
So even wow. So even if like my wizard, for example, got knocked down by this, I still got to get through 25 points, which I could do, but that's a little bit to get through. I don't know how many rounds I could take.
You're restrained.
You're restrained. You can't attack at all.
Disadvantage. Well, restrained is
restrained, speed 0. Your attack rolls against you have disadvantage on attack rolls. So you could cast, but you got to cast something that only affects it and not you. Can't be any area of effect. Can't be burning hands or anything like that. I mean, that again, you get into a little bit of house rules. To me, if you cast burning in hands when you're entombed, it's going to blow back on you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how a wizard could get through 25 hit points. AC 10 is not too bad. Shocking Grasp is 2d8, but still, that's another round. Maybe that might be 3 rounds, and I'm up to 30.
Yeah, a wizard's going to have a hard time doing that in 1 round at lower levels.
Dimension Door.
A Dimension Door would work. Mystic Step would not, because you can't see anything.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be dealing with that. I mean, you should be, that high enough level, you'll be out of there. But CR6, I mean, that's a nice little thing to throw at them.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah.
So, DM Evans, you were just saying about you wanted to have something reminiscent of the attacks in history, but throwing the bodies over the wall, and here you go. You have it right in front of you.
Yeah.
So, I hope I don't see it in my own campaign against us. I hope they use it against my characters in their campaign. I feel like the swamps are going to become more infested with zombies as they go up on levels. In addition to the other parts of the adventure, there's some searching. There might be some cultists. There might be some, dragonborn in the swamps. There might be some kobolds, some orcs. But I think the zombies will be fun.
Yeah, but again, I can see this. I mean, you can add a little story to this, where maybe the first 2 times it throws that clot of zombies, it's throwing the zombie limbed monster.
Yeah.
It hucks the crawling pile of arms and legs, and that starts chasing people in the backfield.
Yeah. Or just throws a ball of zombies, and then whatever survives gets up and starts fighting,
Yeah. It could be very thematic also.
I like that. Yeah.
And
or maybe even
it's a little outside the rules, but I mean that's what the DM's job is, right? Create the story.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he throws some zombies, and every time he throws a little clot of zombies, he loses a couple hit points.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a good one. I like that. That's can we find a print for that? That's gonna be a hard one, right?
We can find a print for anything. Oh.
So this one is going back to our Kobold Press creature catalog, a zombie lord. Let me just read the intro, then I want to ask DM Evanson, what he thinks about an intelligence 10 zombie. A cold white gleam in the glassy eyes of the noble is in his finely faded robes burns with evil. His skin has an ashen pallor of the undead. Unlike the shuffling, mindless specimens of zombie, Lord zombies retain their personality and memories. The Lord's mind is twisted with jealousy and an obsession for things left behind in an unfinished life. Corrupted death. A figure of strong will who dies in a place infused with necrotic energy can draw the corruption into itself and rise as a terrifying zombie lord. More tragically, sometimes resurrection magic goes awry and the victim returns as a nexus of undeath. I kind of like that as a storyline. Spreading corruption. Zombie lords spread a constant wave of necrosis into the world around them. Even long dead corpses quicken to the Lord's call. The creatures are regularly accompanied by legions of zombies and often have lairs in cemeteries. The zombie lord does not require food, air, drink, or sleep. Natural armor 15, 82 hit points, speed of 30. Stats, strength 16, dex 14, constitution 16, intelligence 10, wisdom 13, charisma 15. I guess he's a pretty good looking zombie lord, but the intelligence is really a thing I want to focus on. A resistance of bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical attacks not made of silver. They kind of changed those rules in the world of Erendor in a Monster Hunter campaign. I'm instituting some silver resistance or subject to silver damage. I think that's a good thing. We're going to allow some silver weapons. Damage immunities, necrotic, and poison. So this is a legendary creature. So he has legendary resistances and legendary actions. He has a form of stench that the other zombies have, except it's DC 16. He has the undead fortitude at the DC 5 plus the damage. He has a multi-attack, which is a slam. Plus he can do 1 life drain. A life drain attack is +6 to hit, 5-foot reach, 6 damage, necrotic. The target must then take a DC 16 Constitution save, or his hit points maximum is reduced by the same amount. A humanoid slain by the drain life attack becomes a zombie 24 hours later. Legendary actions. Now, the first one is, I think, maybe a little overpowered. Shambling hordes. The Lord telepathically commands all zombies it controls within 1 mile to move half their speed. This does not provoke opportunity attacks. For 2 actions, you do another life drain. And for 3 actions, he can cause a corpse within 30 feet to rise as a zombie under his control. So, Dan Mevinson, what do you think of a zombie with intelligence to 10 who's actually commanding hordes? Does that sound more like the domain of a lich, of a necromancer, or do you like the idea of a zombie lord?
I like it if it makes sense for the story, like how he came to or be, other than just like random chance. I mean, like the monster by himself isn't like all that scary, but you throw in his 20 plus minions he can have, and then you can activate them. It gets a little more interesting. But like you said, if there's a story behind it or unfinished business, and or some unnatural thing brought him back where he retains his intelligence, I like the idea. Just how you use it, you know.
I do like the idea of a resurrection or a raised dead gone wrong. I think that's how I probably put it in my campaign.
Stat wise, to me, it's a white. It's almost exactly a white stat line wise.
Okay.
It's got the same kind of theme to it. I mean, a white is a withered corpse of a relentless warrior whose wickedness sustains them beyond death. Mm-hmm. They have the exact same life drain that brings you back as a zombie. They just have armor and weapons as opposed to a slam attack. Yeah. So, I mean,
so it could be considered a white reskin.
Yeah, it's a reskin of a white, basically, which I don't have a problem with. It's got legendaries, which a white doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the legendaries are a must. Otherwise, it's very too bland for like a lord or whatever, because he needs that control of the minions and that extra life drain.
See, I mean, I like legendary resistances, but at the point where, so there's not a lot of spells that are takeout spells on an undead, right? Okay. So I mean, the real thing he's going to use those on is if the priest tries to turn or destroy undead.
Yeah,
that's what he's going to use those on. But with 80 hit points and a 15 armor class, the fighters in the group are going to hack him to bits in 2 rounds if he's in hand to hand.
Yeah, which I think is his horde needs to be in the battle. Him by himself, it's going to be a very boring battle.
So
you need to have like a buffer.
Going back to the minion rule, the minions you said in 4th edition were only 1 hit point. Maybe we could even homebrew that. We could, what's it called? We could have minions and then his legendary action where he commands all of them to make a move. So if you have a bunch of minions, that might not be too scary because you're going through them. But on his turn, all of a sudden, all the minions move, and they're on top of you. That could be kind of scary. Or if it counts on the hands or the bloat zombie, or the swamp zombie, or the mold zombie, and they move forward too, that could be dangerous.
Yeah.
It all depends on what level you're throwing this at too. If you're throwing this at a lower level that are like 3 or less, I would maybe give them 2 legendary resistance or something like that. You know, lower that down a little bit. But
yeah. I mean, CR5. I mean, what level should you be fighting him?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, depends on what else is with him.
It's a reskin to me that you throw in. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I might put him in. There might be, like I said, like DM Evans said, there might be a reason to put him in our campaign. Maybe he pops up as you know, the one kind of guarding the mold zombies in the other part of the swamp. Maybe controlling a part of the swamp. Maybe he was brought back to life on a bad resurrection or raised dead, and now he wants his revenge. Intelligence 10, he can think a little bit. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have gone through most of the zombies I was interested in. Any other thoughts, DM Evanson, just about zombies or the undead in general, and using them in your campaign? What you like to do?
I would recommend looking for third-party zombies as much as you can. Look on either D&D Beyond's homebrew type of zombie, and then just sort through either by the amount that has been added, or sort it by the CR level, depending on what you're looking for, and look at the homebrew stuff. There's some unique stuff out there, and you can see the stuff that's been added a lot or has a lot of eyeballs on it is usually the better stuff. There's some silly stuff, don't get me wrong, but look on there, Cobalt Press. There's tons of sources out there just to add a little extra to spice up battle, make your players see something different for a change. Other than that, these are all good options.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Anything to add, Professor, on the undead? Do you like fighting zombies? Do you think it's a good part of the game?
I think undead are a great part of the game. I like the horde aspect of it. I love, like I said, I really do like that minion rule because the players turn around or they turn a corner and there's just a room with 50 skeletons in it.
Yeah.
You want to see a group of players go like, oh shit, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah, even if they have what hit point, they don't need to know that right away.
Exactly, they don't know that.
As soon as they see that, they're gonna go like, "Oh crap!"
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think as a game master, sometimes the hit point's a little bit fluid. So if it looks like they're doing well, you're like, okay, a guy average the swamp zombies, I had him average of 20 hit points. And one player might have hit him and it got to 19. I was like, okay, that's enough. It's that one's down. There's no reason to drag it out, especially when
start a war here, DM Roy.
No good.
You're gonna start a war with the viewers because that's a contentious point in the community.
Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Fudging and flex, that's a contentious point in the community. I don't understand why. I mean, the DM's a storyteller.
I did it.
I think people have a problem when they know that it's happened.
Agreed.
And I kind of understand that. You don't want to know that you're only alive because the guy felt bad for you or not.
No, I didn't feel bad, but I want the person to feel heroic. It was the first time they were actually fighting something and rolling dice. So, the zombie might have got knocked down by 1 or 2 people, but player 3 hadn't killed anybody yet. It's like, okay.
I agree 100%. I'm just saying it's an odd point of contention in the D&D community. Some people are like, it's got 20 hit points. If you don't do 20 hit points, it doesn't drop.
Yeah.
And then other people are like, my big monster in this fight had 80 hit points. I didn't realize it wasn't enough. So mid-fight, I made it 160.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be this big fight, and the players just chewed through it in the blink of an eye. Yeah. And he was like,
well, you roll bad for initiative. You kept your initiative, and all of a sudden the players alpha strike. And as a dungeon master, you're like, how did that guy just do 80 hit points of damage? And then he goes, oh, I get to go again. You're like, what? I mean,
well,
why did I let a monk in my group?
Did you notice one of the biggest changes in the monster manual?
Hit points.
No, initiatives.
Yeah.
Look at the initiative bonus on a dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, did it skyrocket?
It's like 22 or something like that.
I didn't notice. I noticed the hit points went up a lot.
Let's see. Let's just go to see if I can find one real quick.
Yeah, the dragon initiatives are 545,
I came
600 points.
to a dragon turtle first. It's only a +6 initiative. Let's look at red dragon.
That's so good.
So the professor is taking a minute to find a ancient red dragon.
That's legacy. Here we
Indeed.
go. Legacy.
Yeah.
Stop showing me
I hate
legacy
this.
stuff. Here we go.
I know.
Adult red dragon. Here we go. Initiative bonus +12.
Yeah.
Much
better.
What is what's the CR on the adult red dragon?
Probably like
17.
17. So CR 17. So so player characters at level that should be level 17, right?
No.
What's their initiative bonuses going to be? They're going to be up to +8, +9, but probably not +12, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the ancients are even worse, even higher. But all of the, I want to say, big monsters have gotten their initiative bonuses raised.
Yeah.
So that they generally don't just get wiped out by the PC Alpha Strike because the PCs went first.
Yeah.
Well said there.
Doom Driver says that's why a DM has to be on top of his game, his game, no pun intended. You have to know what your players are capable of. Yeah, I agree with that, Doom, but sometimes the players, they surprise you. You think you know what they're capable of, and they've been reading the rules all night, and all of a sudden they said, I can do this combination with that, and I activate my magical tattoos, and then I have this new item, and all of a sudden, I took level 1 of fighting, action surge, they do it again, and you're just shocked. But yeah, absolutely. You do have to know what your players are capable of.
Yeah.
So that's it. I think that's it for tonight. I'm glad we got to talk about zombies. Starting off with
it reminds me of a Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
The Swamp Thing.
That's why I think I like him so much.
Yeah, I think I need to adjust his. I don't know if I talked about this. I need to adjust the Swamp Zombie's stealth. I want to give him high stealth so he can bypass passive perceptions with his swamp monster ghillie suit.
Give him advantage to stealth in swamp environments or something like that.
Yeah. Or,
exactly.
Yeah,
he wants to
get really crazy. You could do like the bonuses that like Genatlas cubes and such get, or the oozes get, which is like, as long as they're not moving, they're like undetectable.
Oh yeah, I like that too. The undetectable.
As long as they're in their proper environment,
So with the professor's help and with DM Evanson's help, we'll fine tune the swamp zombie. We'll add him to the world of Erendor with these other creatures, and eventually the public will be able to access our creatures. And hopefully, I'll get to see or hear stories about swamp zombies in your campaign, and some good tales. So wrapping up for today, we were at CradleCon last weekend. We got to talk to a lot of people about Dungeons and Dragons. We got to hear a lot of good stories. One young lady dungeon master told me about her world and how her characters went into the Waffle House, which had lots of doors to other dimensions, and they were being stalked by a god like Ronald McDonald, who were torturing them with these different adventures. And I was like, you made all that up? Post-apocalyptic world. I was like, good for you. And she was really happy to share the story. Yeah. And it was cool just to see what other people are playing and doing, right, Professor?
Yeah, absolutely. We, probably talked to 20 different people with active campaigns, and they all were thrilled to talk about it. We're D&D players. Cool. We all like to talk about our games.
Yeah.
Yeah, D&D is alive and well. Next weekend, the following weekend, I think it's the last weekend in May. That's the 31st. 31st. We'll be at Long Island Trek with D&D Miniatures. We're hoping there's some D&D people at Trek. A friend of ours invited us, so we'll have a table set up there. We're doing some photography. We'll have some Star Trek stuff, but we're going to try to focus on the D&D and see if we can spread the word about that. DM Evanson, anything coming up? We're playing in the next week or two.
Yep. Next 2 Wednesdays, at least, and go from there.
Okay. And Professor, we're going to work on talking about an episode for the Bastions of the level 13 fighter for our Erendor campaign. We're going to film that this coming week.
Okay.
And we should be good to go. So thank you for joining us, spending the hour with us on a Tuesday night about our zombie talk. We'll be back Sunday morning, live chatting about our current campaign. And hopefully every Tuesday I'll be able to drop some sort of pre-recorded or live stream about the monster of the week. Thank you, DM Edmondson.
You're very welcome. Good to be here.
Thank you, Professor.
Absolutely, great to talk.
All right, adventurers. Have a great night.